Every time my wife and I argued and she brought up divorce, she had only one demand. I could have all the assets as long as she got our daughter. She was banking on the fact that I could never bear to lose her and our little girl. That held true until my birthday, when I saw Olivia with our daughter and her first love, eating at a restaurant. Our daughter, Lily, was happily swinging her legs, leaning over to eat a piece of cake Julian had just taken a bite from, and said with a smile, "I wish Uncle Julian was my daddy." Olivia just smiled, placing food on both of their plates, her gaze resting gently on Julian the entire time. In that moment, a sudden wave of exhaustion washed over me. I didn't disturb them, I just turned and walked away. After returning to our villa, I drew up a divorce agreement. 7 years of marriage had ended in my wife's betrayal. It was time for me to wake up. I placed the divorce agreement in an envelope, instructed our housekeeper, Mrs. Davis, to give it to Olivia, and then dragged my suitcase into a car headed for the airport. Around 9 that evening, Olivia and Lily returned. Lily clutched Olivia's clothes, hesitating to get out of the car because she knew I was home, and frankly, she didn't want to be there. "Mommy, we're going sailing tomorrow. What if Daddy insists on coming with us?" "He won't," Olivia said with certainty. She knew that in all our years of marriage, once she made her position clear, I would never dare to upset her. Hearing this, Lily finally relaxed, her earlier annoyance vanishing as she skipped happily into the house. Mrs. Davis remembered my instructions and handed the envelope to Olivia. "Ma'am, Mr. Hayes asked me to give this to you. He packed his things and flew back to the States this afternoon." Olivia's hand paused as she took the envelope. "He actually left?" She didn't know why I had suddenly come to visit them in London, nor did she care. Learning that I was gone didn't bother her in the slightest. Lily was also a little surprised. She had been thinking that if Daddy didn't join them for sailing, it would still be nice to have him around in the evening. Besides, she hadn't finished making her gift for Uncle Julian and wanted my help with it. Olivia said nothing more and led her daughter upstairs. Back in her room, just as she was about to open my letter, a call came in from Julian. After answering, Olivia tossed the envelope aside without a second thought and walked out the door. The next day, when Mrs. Davis came up to clean, she saw the envelope on the floor and recognized it as the one I had given her for Olivia. Assuming Olivia had already read it, she simply placed it in a nearby cabinet. Meanwhile, I had landed back in the States and went straight upstairs to pack. After 6 years, I had a lot of things in the house, but I only took a few changes of clothes and some professional books. After we got married, Olivia gave me a monthly allowance. But my world revolved around my wife and daughter, so I spent most of it on them. However, over the past year, with Lily living in London with Olivia, I had fewer opportunities to buy them things, and I now had over $3 million left in my account. That amount was nothing to Olivia, but it was a significant sum for me. Since the money was rightfully mine, I didn't hesitate to transfer it out. I dragged my suitcase and left without a backward glance. I had previously bought a condo near my old office, which had been regularly cleaned, so it would be easy to move in after a quick tidy up. Around 10 that night, I washed up and went to bed. A shrill alarm jolted me from my sleep, my mind blank for a moment. As my head cleared, I remembered. It was 1 a.m. here, which was just after 7 a.m. in London, where Olivia and Lily were. They usually had breakfast around this time. Ever since Lily went to London with Olivia, I had made it a habit to call her at this time. At first, she wasn't used to it and wanted to call me constantly. But as time went on, her attitude on the phone became dismissive and impatient. There was no longer any need for this alarm, but I hadn't been able to bring myself to delete it. Thinking of this, I gave a bitter smile. After a moment's hesitation, I deleted the alarm, turned off my phone, and went back to sleep. Over in London, Olivia noticed I hadn't called, but she didn't care. After breakfast, she went upstairs to change. Lily, for her part, found me increasingly long-winded and disliked talking to me more and more. Seeing that I still hadn't called so late in the morning, she figured I must be busy. Her dark eyes darted around, and she grabbed her school bag and bolted for the door. Mrs. Davis saw her and hurried after her. "Miss Lily, it's still early, you don't have to leave just yet." Lily didn't listen, just ran happily towards the car. "Are you kidding? It was a rare day that Daddy was busy and didn't call on time. If she didn't leave now, he might call any minute, and she'd be stuck talking to him. No way." After sleeping in, I went to the Sinclair Corporation headquarters. I had only joined the company for Olivia's sake. Now that we were divorcing, I had no reason to stay. Sarah, one of Olivia's personal assistants, was shocked to see my resignation letter. She was one of the few people in the company who knew about my relationship with Olivia. When I first started, Sarah had worried I would cause chaos in the secretarial department, but the reality was quite the opposite. I was diligent and highly competent, and over the years, I had become the department head. She had also witnessed my devotion to Olivia all this time. Honestly, Sarah never imagined I would resign. She assumed something must have happened between Olivia and me, and that Olivia had ordered me to quit. Though it was a shame, Sarah remained professional. "I've received your resignation. I'll arrange for someone to take over your duties as soon as possible." I nodded and returned to my desk. After getting some work done, Sarah had a video call with Olivia to report on her tasks. As they were wrapping up, she remembered my resignation. But just as she was about to speak, she recalled what Olivia had said when I was hired. Anything concerning him at the company should be handled according to standard procedure. There's no need to report it to me specially. Noticing Sarah's hesitation, Olivia frowned. "What is it?" Sarah snapped back to attention. "It's nothing." If Olivia already knew about my resignation but hadn't mentioned it, it must mean the matter was insignificant to her. Sarah figured she should just handle it by the book as usual. With that thought, she said no more. Olivia ended the call. That evening after work, I browsed online for news about an upcoming tech conference, then made a phone call. "Save me a ticket for CES next month." The voice on the other end was cool. "Are you sure? I saved you a ticket the last 2 times and you never showed. People would kill for those passes, and you just let them go to waste." I chuckled. "If I don't make it this time, I'll never ask you again." Hearing this, the person on the other end said nothing and hung up. I knew that meant she agreed. What I didn't say was that I wanted to return to my company. I was a co-founder, but I chose to step back and become a stay-at-home dad right after we started, focusing on my family. I've been out of the loop for too long and would struggle to keep up if I went back now, so I plan to get a feel for the current state of the industry first. For the next few days, I went to work and came home on time, never once initiating contact with Lily or Olivia. Of course, they didn't contact me either. Meanwhile, in London, Lily now called Julian every morning. One day, not long into their chat, she burst into tears because Julian told her he was returning to the States. After talking to Julian, she immediately called Olivia. "Mommy, did you know about this?" From her office, Olivia flipped through a document. "I knew." Lily hugged her little pink pig stuffed animal and cried inconsolably. "You're mean, Mommy. Why didn't you tell me? I don't want to leave Uncle Julian. I don't want to go to school here anymore. I want to go back home." Olivia's tone was flat. "It's already being arranged. We're going back next week." "Really?" Lily jumped up from her bed. "Then why didn't Uncle Julian tell me just now?" Olivia replied calmly. "The plans were just finalized. I haven't told him yet." Lily was ecstatic. "Okay, Mommy, don't tell Uncle Julian then. We'll give him a surprise when we get back." After hanging up, Lily was still overjoyed. A moment later, she suddenly thought of me. She had been in a great mood these past few days because I hadn't been calling. But after so long, she suddenly missed me a little. With that thought, she couldn't resist calling me. But just as the call was connecting, she realized that once she was back home, with both Daddy and Uncle Julian around, she wouldn't be able to see Uncle Julian whenever she wanted like she could hear. Thinking about this, her mood suddenly soured. It was the middle of the night here in the States, and I was asleep when Lily's call woke me. Just as I was about to answer, she angrily hung up. Even though I had given up custody of Lily, she was still my daughter. Worried something might have happened, I quickly called her back. Lily saw the call but turned her face away, refusing to answer. Now I was even more concerned and immediately dialed the villa's landline. Mrs. Davis answered promptly. After I explained, she quickly said, "Miss Lily is in her room, she's fine." I finally felt relieved, but having been woken up so suddenly, I couldn't get back to sleep for a long time. On the day of their return, Olivia placed the last document in her briefcase and went downstairs. "All right, let's go." She had completely forgotten about the envelope with the divorce agreement. The stretch Lincoln quickly pulled away from the villa, heading for the airport. Meanwhile, I was wandering aimlessly across the Harvard campus when a familiar voice called out to me. "Ethan." Chloe was smiling at me. "How have you been lately?" I managed a faint smile. "Pretty good. Just getting ready for a divorce." Chloe hadn't expected that answer. "I'm sorry, I didn't know. What are your plans now? Are you thinking of coming back to the company?" I hesitated. "I've been thinking about it, but..." Chloe didn't know what was holding me back, but she said earnestly, "You have a stake in Apex Dynamics, Ethan. I want you to come back and help lead." I looked at Chloe's serious expression. The words caught in my throat. It wasn't that I didn't want to, it was that the AI field was moving so fast. I'd been out of the industry for 6 years. Even if I went back now, I was afraid I wouldn't be able to keep up. Chloe seemed to guess my concerns but didn't voice them. Instead, she said with conviction. Falling behind for a little while doesn't matter. Your ability and talent are beyond what most geniuses possess. Ethan, as long as you still have the passion for this, it's not too late to start over. Don't forget, you were Dr. Sterling's most prized student of her entire teaching career. Hearing that, I finally broke into a smile. I took a deep breath and nodded. Okay, I'll come back to the company. But I need to wait for someone to take over my current job, so it might be a little while. Chloe readily agreed. After all, I had skipped 3 grades, graduated from Harvard before I was 18, and quickly founded my own tech company, securing several patents in the early stages. As long as I was coming back, waiting a little longer was no problem at all. The two of us chatted for a while longer before parting ways. That night, past midnight, Olivia and Lily arrived back at our home in the States. She carried a sleeping Lily to her room, then returned to the master bedroom, only to find it empty. Just then, the butler, Mr. Thompson, brought her luggage upstairs. Olivia frowned and asked, "Where's Ethan?" The butler quickly replied, "Mr. Hayes is away on a business trip. When I had packed my things and left 2 weeks ago, he happened to be out. Hearing from the other staff that I had left with a suitcase, he assumed I had gone on a trip." Olivia just grunted in acknowledgement and asked no more questions. The next day, I ran right into Olivia as she arrived at the Sinclair Corporation. I had no idea she and Lily were back, and the sudden encounter in the office made me stop in my tracks. Seeing me, Olivia showed a flicker of surprise, but she merely assumed I had just returned from my trip. Without a second thought, she walked past me coolly and entered the building. In the past, I would have been overjoyed to learn of her sudden return. Now, I just glanced at her back with indifference. Since she was back, the divorce proceedings could probably move forward soon. I didn't dwell on it. Once I was back at my desk, I immersed myself in work. Half an hour later, Sarah called and instructed me to make 2 cups of coffee and bring them to the CEO's office. When I brought the coffee to Olivia's office, I saw her sitting on Julian's lap. It looked like they were kissing. I froze, the color draining from my face. Julian scrambled to his feet. Olivia's expression was furious as she snapped, "Who gave you permission to come in here?" I gripped the tray tightly. "I came to bring you your coffee." Olivia's other personal assistant, Carla, happened to walk by. "All right, Ethan, this is getting pretty pathetic." I understood her implication. She thought I knew Julian was here and had used the coffee as an excuse to interrupt them. Judging by Olivia's expression, she thought the same thing. They gave me no chance to explain. Carla said coldly, "Please leave immediately." My hand holding the tray trembled, and hot coffee sloshed out, scalding my fingers. I winced in pain but turned to leave without a sound. I had only taken 2 steps when Olivia's voice came from the office again. "If there's a next time, you don't need to come to the company anymore." She didn't know I had already resigned. Even without this incident, I would be leaving soon anyway. But I knew that no one here cared about what happened to me. After treating my burn and returning to my desk to work, I overheard some colleagues gossiping. I heard the CEO's boyfriend came to the office. The CEO has a boyfriend? Who is he? What's his background? I'm not sure about his background, but the front desk said he's also from a wealthy family, super handsome, and has an amazing presence. The 2 colleagues were chatting away when they saw me stand up. Remembering they had a meeting with me downstairs, they quickly shut up. My face was expressionless as I left the office and walked towards the conference room with my 2 colleagues. Just then, I saw Julian and 4 senior executives walking towards us. I heard Julian laugh and say, "Thank you all for taking the time to show me around the company." He spoke politely, but it was as if he already saw himself as the owner. The managers beside him chuckled obsequiously. When they saw us approaching, the managers immediately frowned. "Watch where you're going. What if you bump into Mr. Vance? You have no manners at all." My 2 colleagues, while sneaking glances at Julian, quickly stepped back against the wall. Julian saw me too, but his gaze shifted away coldly, and he was soon escorted away by the managers. The 2 colleagues breathed a sigh of relief, then immediately started gossiping excitedly again. "That must be the CEO's boyfriend, right? He's so handsome, he's covered in designer brands. Just what you'd expect from a wealthy family." As they talked, they quietly asked me, "Ethan, what do you think?" I lowered my eyes and said flatly, "Yes, Julian is actually my father's illegitimate son. When he was 8, my father, determined not to let Julian and his mother suffer, insisted on divorcing my mother to marry Julian's mother. After my parents' divorce, my mentally unstable mother and I went to live with my grandmother and uncle. I heard that to compensate for the hardships of Julian's childhood, my father spent a fortune on his upbringing. So, the illegitimate son from back then is now a legitimate heir to a fortune. I had assumed that after our childhood, Julian and I would never cross paths again. But fate, it seemed, had a particular fondness for Julian. The moment Olivia saw him, she fell for him completely. But Olivia and I would be divorcing soon, so who she loved would no longer have anything to do with me. I worked overtime until almost 9, and just as I was finishing up, my phone rang. It was my good friend Mark, drunk, asking me to pick him up from a restaurant. I quickly finished the documents on my desk, grabbed my car keys, and left the office. 20 minutes later, I arrived. After parking, as I was walking towards the entrance, a little girl emerged from the other side of the parking lot. Seeing the little girl's clear profile, I froze. How could it be Lily? Had she come back with Olivia? I thought Olivia was only back for a short business trip, but I never expected Lily to be with her. Based on seeing Olivia this morning, they must have been back for at least a day, yet Lily never called to tell me they had returned. Thinking of this, I tightened my grip on my phone. Watching the cheerful little figure skipping ahead, I quietly followed. As I reached the corner of the lobby, Julian and several of Olivia's friends appeared at the end of the hallway. I immediately ducked out of sight, then heard my daughter cry out happily, "Uncle Julian!" as she ran and threw herself into his arms. I sat down on a nearby sofa with my back to them, using a potted plant and the chair's backrest to hide myself. I heard Lily cooing as she hugged Julian. "I haven't seen you in a week, Uncle Julian. I missed you so much. If I couldn't call you every day, I wouldn't have been able to stand being in London." It was a warm, beautiful scene, as if they were a real father and daughter. Julian happily stroked her hair. "I missed you too, Lily. Let's not just stand here. Let's go upstairs and have some cake." Their footsteps faded away, but my mind was a complete blank. It took a long time for me to come to my senses. Silently, I got into the elevator and went upstairs to help my friend down. Mark's private room and the one where Julian's group was dining were actually on the same floor. As I helped Mark into the elevator, Olivia's friend, Megan, paused. The person next to her asked, "What's wrong?" "Nothing. I thought I saw someone I know." I didn't notice Megan. I took Mark back to his place and stayed the night to look after him. The next day, Mark woke up and saw me, giving me a grateful hug. "Thanks for last night, man. I'll treat you to dinner another time." Patted his head. "Get up and wash your face. Breakfast is getting cold." Mark quickly cleaned up and sat at the table, scrolling through his phone while eating. A moment later, his expression changed, and he couldn't help but ask, "Is Olivia back in the country?" He handed me his phone. I glanced at it and saw it was Megan's Facebook page. She had posted several photos from their gathering last night. Although the post wished Julian a happy birthday, 4 or 5 of the 9 photos were of Olivia and Julian together, especially one where they were cutting the cake, their hands overlapping on the crystal knife. As for my daughter, Lily, she wasn't in any of the pictures, probably to keep the Sinclair family elders from finding out. But just from the photos, it was obvious Olivia had arranged this specifically for Julian. Thinking of the cold shoulder I received on my birthday 2 weeks ago, I forced a smile. Whatever they're doing has nothing to do with me anymore. I filed for divorce from Olivia. "What?" Mark's eyes widened. "You're the one who filed?" He had always known how much I loved Olivia. In the beginning, Mark didn't dislike her. After all, Olivia was truly exceptional, graduating from college at 13, studying abroad, and then returning to found several of her own public companies. Even the Sinclair Corporation had reached new heights within a few years because of her. So, Mark wasn't surprised that a genius like me would fall for a genius like Olivia. But thinking about how Olivia had misunderstood and trampled on my feelings all these years, he had completely lost all respect for her. Mark knew how much I loved Olivia, and this was the first time in all these years that I had initiated a divorce. What happened? I thought for a moment and said, "It wasn't one big thing, really. I guess the disappointments just piled up until I wanted out." Mark knew my personality. Once I made a decision, I rarely changed my mind. With that, he patted my shoulder comfortingly. "It's for the best. A woman like that isn't worth it." After breakfast, I headed to work. Before I had fully moved out of the villa, I had the misfortune of running into Olivia again. Just like in the past, whenever she saw me, the coldness on her face became even more pronounced. Olivia merely glanced at me before looking away. I lowered my eyes, just as I had the day before, and quietly said, "Ms. Sinclair." Only after she had walked away did I enter the company building. In the afternoon, as I was packing up to leave, Carla brought me a file and told me to handle it urgently. I glanced at the contents and knew it wasn't actually urgent. In the past, I would have accepted it with a smile and promised to finish it quickly, because I wanted to maintain a good relationship with Olivia's personal assistants to get closer to her. But now that I was getting a divorce, what was the point? Besides, Carla had falsely accused me yesterday without a second thought. I wasn't magnanimous enough to pretend it never happened. I looked at Carla and said coolly, "I'm not doing this work right now. I'm going home." Carla's face hardened, thinking I was using my status to get special treatment. "Ethan, you need to fix your attitude. Do you think you own this place?" My demeanor didn't change. "If you're not satisfied, you can fire me right now." Carla was furious, but I just walked out of the secretarial department. Just then, Olivia approached from a distance and, seeing the situation, asked what was happening. Carla immediately tattled, "It's Ethan. He left for the day without finishing his work." Olivia said indifferently, "If you're not happy with him, just follow the procedure and fire him." Sarah and Carla were taken aback. It wasn't that they found Olivia's indifference towards me unusual, but her words implied she had no idea I had already submitted my resignation. Just as they were about to speak, Olivia's phone rang. It was Julian. Without another glance at them, Olivia walked past them towards the elevator, answering the call. Sarah and Carla exchanged a look of bewilderment. By the time Olivia got home, it was the next morning. She found Lily having breakfast. "The school registration is done. You'll report to school tomorrow morning." "I know," Lily said, wrinkling her nose. "So, can you take me to school tomorrow, Mommy?" Olivia shook her head. "I might not have time." Lily's eyes immediately lit up. "Then I'll call Uncle Julian and ask him to take me." Before Olivia could reply, her phone rang. It was a call from the Sinclair family estate. When she answered, it was her grandmother's voice on the line, telling her to bring her husband and daughter to the estate for dinner that evening. Olivia rarely refused her grandmother's requests. While telling Lily they were going to see her great-grandmother that night, she picked up her phone to call me. At that moment, I was having breakfast at my family's home. Seeing Olivia's name on the screen, I paused. I no longer felt a thrill at her calls. Instead, I hesitated for a couple of seconds before answering. "Grandma wants us to come over for dinner tonight. Come back and pick up Lily this evening." I agreed to the dinner, but I didn't want to go back to her place. Besides, even if I went to pick up Lily myself, she wouldn't necessarily be happy to see me. Why bother making an effort that wouldn't be appreciated? I said, "Just have the driver take her. I'll drive over myself after work." It was the most straightforward way, but I had always been hands-on with everything concerning Lily, so Olivia was a bit surprised to hear me say that. She didn't dwell on it though, simply saying, "All right," before hanging up. Seeing this, Lily asked, "Is Daddy coming with us to great-grandma's?" When she got an affirmative answer, Lily instinctively frowned. It wasn't that she didn't want to see me or didn't miss me. She had only found out I was on a business trip the day after she returned. She had hoped to spend more time with Uncle Julian while I was away. But now that I was back, she couldn't ask Uncle Julian to take her to school. And as for Uncle Julian's race tomorrow night, if I found out, I would definitely forbid her from going. Thinking of this, she pleaded with Olivia. "About Uncle Julian's race tomorrow night, can we not tell Daddy?" Olivia nodded. "I know." With Olivia's assurance, Lily's mood improved slightly. After work that evening, I arrived at the Sinclair estate with a gift. Before I even stepped inside, I could hear Lily's cheerful laughter. Mrs. Sinclair, the matriarch, noticed me and broke into a wide smile. "Ethan, you're here. Come, sit with Grandma." But only she was smiling. The smiles on everyone else's faces faded when they saw me. I noticed, but it didn't bother me like it used to. Pretending not to see, I handed the gift to the butler who came to greet me and walked over to the matriarch. "Grandma." The old woman was delighted, pulling me down to sit beside her, but then her brow furrowed. "Why are you so thin? Has Olivia been mistreating you?" I looked down and shook my head. "No, I've just been busy lately." That was only half true. For the past 2 weeks, I had been spending most of my evenings after work engrossed in AI research, often staying up until the early hours of the morning. Before the matriarch could speak, Olivia's sister, let's call her Ashley, scoffed. "To hear you talk, anyone would think your job is so important that the entire Sinclair Corporation can't function without you." Olivia's mother, seated nearby, added coldly, "If you find the work at Sinclair Corporation so tiring, you should just quit. After all, no one begged you to work there." The matriarch couldn't stand hearing others criticize me and was about to intervene, but I spoke first. "I've already submitted my resignation. Once the handover is complete, I'll be leaving Sinclair." At this, both Olivia's mother and sister were stunned. The matriarch frowned, about to say something, when Lily suddenly shouted and threw herself into my arms. "Daddy's here." Lily seemed genuinely happy to see me. I gave her a gentle hug and murmured a soft hi, but said nothing more. Olivia followed her in. After greeting her grandmother and mother, she glanced at me, then looked away, choosing to sit on a single armchair far from me. she gracefully settled into the armchair. Seeing so many people, she smiled. Is everyone waiting for me? Ashley playfully tapped her head. Yes, we're all starving while waiting for you. Olivia was reserved and quiet. Ashley was hot-tempered. And their other sister, let's call her Emily, was the family's ray of sunshine, much closer to their parents. The moment Emily arrived, a smile appeared on her mother's usually cool face, and the matriarch grew even happier. Seeing it was getting late, she instructed the staff to serve dinner. Once dinner began, the atmosphere was quite pleasant, with everyone chatting and eating. I quietly kept my head down and ate. More than 10 minutes had passed since Olivia arrived, and we hadn't exchanged a single word, but everyone was used to it. Suddenly, Lily looked at me. Daddy, I want some shrimp. I put down my chopsticks and started peeling one for her. The matriarch's gaze fell on my hand and she paused. Ethan, where's your ring? As soon as she said it, everyone's eyes turned to my hand. After we married, despite our icy marriage, I had always worn the wedding ring Mrs. Sinclair had given us. Olivia, in contrast, had never worn hers once. Ashley had mocked me for it countless times over the years. My hands paused for a fraction of a second while peeling the shrimp, then I calmly replied, I was in a hurry this morning and left it at home. In truth, I had taken the ring off when I prepared the divorce papers and put it in the envelope with them. The matriarch smiled. Oh, I see. The topic was then dropped. That night, we stayed over at the estate as the matriarch wished. Around 8, Olivia went to the study with her grandmother to discuss business, and I took Lily upstairs to bed. As she lay down, Lily asked tentatively, Daddy, are you busy tomorrow morning? Although she could compromise and let me take her to school, in her heart, she still preferred Uncle Julian. So, it would be great if I were busy. I shook my head. Not busy. Why? Hearing this, Lily's lips formed a disappointed pout. It's nothing. Since I was free tomorrow, she would have to tell Uncle Julian. Worried that he would be sad and disappointed, Lily's mind raced, trying to figure out the best way to break the news. I saw her eyes glued to her phone and knew she wanted to keep playing. I reminded her, just a little while longer, then it's time for sleep. Don't stay on it for too long, okay? Lily was already annoyed, and my nagging only made it worse. Daddy, just go. I'll turn it off and go to sleep after 9:30. Hearing that, I said goodnight and left the room. Lily immediately closed and locked the door behind me. I had just started walking away when I heard the lock click. I knew she wasn't locking it against anyone else. She was locking it against me. I didn't bother to dwell on it and went straight back to my room. Shortly after I lay down, I heard Olivia's footsteps entering the bedroom. In the past, I would have gotten up to hang her clothes, happily picked out her pajamas, and gone to the bathroom to draw her a bath. But now I had no intention of getting out of bed. I just slowly closed my eyes. Although Olivia usually dismissed my attentiveness, she must have noticed the stark difference in my attitude tonight. She probably just thought I was sulking and paid no mind to my unusual behavior, saying coolly, Lily's school registration is done. You take her to school tomorrow morning. I replied indifferently, I know. Olivia said nothing more and turned to the walk-in closet to get her clothes for a shower. I watched her back, wanting to ask when we could finalize the divorce. But Olivia was always busy, and knowing her personality, she would contact me herself once all the paperwork was ready, without any prompting from me. After all, Olivia was the one who wanted the divorce more. That's why I had been waiting quietly for her to reach out, never once rushing her. Just then, Olivia's phone rang. From the gentle tone she used to answer, I guessed it was Julian on the other end. The next moment, Olivia let go of the closet door and said, I'm on my way now. Without a backward glance, she hurried out of the room. A short while later, I heard a car start. Olivia had left the estate. I calmly closed my eyes, turned off the light, and went to sleep. I woke up a little after 6 the next morning to find myself alone in the room. Olivia hadn't come back after leaving last night, but I no longer cared. I checked the time, my expression unchanged, and seeing that Lily wasn't up yet, I knocked on her door. After a while, she finally opened it, pouting. Daddy, why are you knocking so loud? You're giving me a headache. I wasn't angry. Instead, I said calmly, it's a long drive to school from here. If you don't get up now, you'll be late. Because Julian wasn't the one taking her, Lily didn't even want to go to school. But as willful as she was, she knew she couldn't be stubborn about school. She flopped onto her bed unhappily. I know. Then she looked at me. Daddy, can you put toothpaste on my toothbrush for me? I agreed and went into the bathroom. Lily seized the opportunity to grab her phone and send a good morning text to Julian before heading into the bathroom herself to brush her teeth with the toothbrush I had prepared. As she was finishing, I warmed a towel with hot water, wrung it out, and handed it to her to wash her face. I opened her closet and asked, "Which outfit do you want to wear?" Lily replied, "I can change by myself, Daddy. You can go out now." After I left, Lily pulled out an outfit she had specifically brought from home yesterday and put it on. It was a super cool camouflage outfit that Uncle Julian had picked out for her. She was going to wear it today to cheer him on. The thought of seeing the cool-looking Uncle Julian again made her happy. After changing, Lily checked her phone and her brow furrowed. Uncle Julian hadn't replied yet. Was he angry? At that thought, she quickly sent Julian a message. "Uncle Julian, what's wrong? Are you mad? You know I didn't want Daddy to take me to school, you know I like you more. Please don't be mad, okay?" A while passed, and Julian still hadn't replied. After getting my things together, I went to her room. "Lily, are you ready? It's time to go downstairs for breakfast." Not having heard back from Julian, Lily was anxious. Faced with my urging, she snapped impatiently, "I know, Daddy, can you just stop talking all the time? It's so annoying." With that, she grabbed her backpack in a huff and went downstairs. I followed without a word, but I noticed her clothes were unfamiliar. I immediately guessed what was going on, but I didn't ask, and simply followed her downstairs with a neutral expression. After breakfast, as we were about to leave, Lily realized she had forgotten something and ran upstairs to get it. I waited for her downstairs. Just then, her phone screen lit up, and I saw a notification from "My dearest Uncle Julian." My expression faltered. Although Lily was still young, I had always respected her privacy since she got a phone and had never snooped. But after seeing the message from Julian, I paused, then picked up the phone. And then I finally understood why Lily had been so irritable with me all morning. I quickly scrolled through their chat history and discovered that Lily messaged Julian every morning to say good morning. They chatted every day for long periods. Hearing the elevator, I acted as if I had seen nothing and put the phone back where it was. When Lily picked up her phone and saw that Julian had finally replied, she immediately broke into a happy smile. In the car, Lily sat in the back and started texting Julian. Occasionally, she would glance at me to see if I was paying attention. Seeing that I was just focused on driving, she relaxed. However, it was a long drive to school, and after about half an hour, Lily and Julian stopped chatting. By then, her mood had improved, and she was finally in the mood to talk to me. "Daddy, are you free this afternoon?" I didn't turn around. "Why?" Lily smiled brightly. "No reason. Since I wasn't free in the afternoon, she could go straight to Uncle Julian's after school." After dropping Lily off at school, I headed to the Sinclair Corporation. Not long after I arrived, Sarah brought someone to my desk. "This is Alex. He'll be taking over your position." Alex was handsome and dressed in designer clothes. He sized me up, noting my clean cut and good looks with a scrutinizing gaze he tried to hide. He extended his hand enthusiastically. "Hi, I'm Alex. I look forward to learning from you over the next few days." I shook his hand. "Likewise. I just graduated from MIT in June with my master's." "Where did you graduate from?" I was a bit surprised. It meant Alex probably had little to no work experience, yet he was taking my position. But perhaps he had some exceptional qualities. With that thought, I gently interrupted him. "Alex, we have a meeting soon. Let's focus on the work handover for now." Alex exclaimed, "Oh, right, my bad, I almost forgot. Let's talk business, let's talk business." By the afternoon, after spending the day with Alex, I found him to be outgoing, sociable, and quite competent. Around 6 in the evening, as I was about to head home, Alex came over and insisted on treating me to dinner to thank me for my guidance. "It's part of my job, Alex. You don't have to do that." Alex was about to argue when my phone rang. It was my mother-in-law. I thought I was seeing things. She despised me and usually gave me the cold shoulder. I could count on one hand the number of times she had contacted me over the years. I answered, puzzled. "Mom, Emily has been secretly street racing lately, and I'm worried about her. I'll send you the address in a minute. Go get her and bring her back." Without another word, she gave her order, hung up, and sent me the address. I turned to Alex. "Sorry, something urgent came up. I have to go." Over an hour later, I reached the location. The racetrack was huge, and there were a lot of people even at night. Emily didn't answer her phone, so I had to search for her, finally finding her after nearly 20 minutes. Emily was shocked to see me. "Ethan, what are you doing here?" After I explained, she raised her hand and swore, "My idol Julian is racing for the first time since he got back. Can't miss it. I promise I'll go home right after the race, so please, just let me be. You can go back first." I was about to say more when a crowd up ahead started chanting "Julian" excitedly. Hearing the commotion, Emily completely forgot about me, joining the other spectators in their cheers and raising a pair of binoculars to stare at the starting line. I was a little surprised. When did you get into racing? Emily said excitedly. I wasn't interested before, but that was before I met my idol. Do you have any idea how handsome and cool he is? She handed me the binoculars. Ethan, you have to see him. Number 38, the one in the red racing suit. I reluctantly took them, but after just one look, I froze. Julian? Her idol was Julian? I then shifted the view and saw the stands on the opposite side. There was Olivia and her friends. The race was about to start, and Emily impatiently took the binoculars back. My eyes were still fixed on Olivia's group. Besides Olivia, our daughter Lily was there, along with Olivia's closest friends. It was obvious they had all come specifically to cheer for Julian. Several race cars sped past, drifting around the corner in a blur, eliciting a wave of screams from the crowd. Emily watched for a moment, then shoved the binoculars back into my hands. Ethan, look, my idol's driving is so bold yet so steady. It's amazing. I took them and found Julian. A moment later, he took a risky but incredibly precise opportunity to overtake on a tight corner. The race ended soon after, with Julian in first place. I asked Emily for the binoculars again, and she was thrilled. Ethan, you're captivated by him too, right? I told you, everyone loves him, guys and girls alike. I lowered my gaze and said nothing. Emily was ecstatic, discussing with her friends how to get his autograph, only to hear that Julian had already left with his friends to celebrate. Just then, her mother called, urging us to come back. I denied Emily's request to go out with her friends and prepared to take her home. Before leaving, I went to the restroom. On my way out, I bumped into someone, and we both apologized at the same time. When I looked up, I paused. It was another of Olivia's friends, Isabella. Isabella, of course, knew who I was. Upon seeing me, her already cool expression became even colder. I certainly noticed. I had met Olivia when I was 10, but she and Isabella had been best friends since childhood and were extremely close. Both before and after our marriage, Olivia always excluded me from her social circle, so I barely even had a nodding acquaintance with Isabella and the others. Yet, not long after meeting Julian, she introduced him to all of them. I heard that Julian was now very close with her friends. Perhaps because of this, their attitude towards me had grown even colder over the past 2 years. I used to try to get on good terms with them, but they looked down on me, gave me no chance, and were always distant. I have my pride too. Since they had made their stance clear, I didn't force it. This time, I simply walked past her to leave. But Isabella spoke up. Are you also interested in racing, Mr. Hayes? I immediately caught her insinuation. She suspected I had followed Olivia here. I turned back and said coldly, what are you trying to say? Isabella's expression remained impassive. It's just that someone like you doesn't seem the type to enjoy racing, so I was curious. Someone like me? I turned to face her, my gaze cold. Are we close? Since you seem to think you know me so well, why don't you tell me what kind of person someone like me is? Isabella didn't answer, just looked at me. She couldn't be bothered to judge me, but she noticed that the way I spoke to her today was different from our past encounters. My gaze was cold. I didn't care what Isabella thought. I looked away and left. Olivia's mother had rented an apartment for Emily near her school, so I dropped her off there. When Olivia's group got home after celebrating with Julian, it was nearly 1 a.m. After putting Lily to bed, Olivia returned to our room and, not seeing me, asked the butler, Mr. Hayes didn't come back tonight? The butler shook his head. Mr. Hayes hasn't been back for the past few days. Olivia was a little surprised. It was rare for me to stay out so often. Had something serious really happened with my family? The next day, Lily, who had been having a wonderful time with Julian lately, woke up with a huge smile. She suddenly thought of me and ran happily to the master bedroom, clutching her doll, but found no one there. Lily's face fell, and she picked up her phone to call me. I had just gotten back from a run and answered when I saw her name. Before I could say anything, Lily blurted out, Daddy, where are you? I didn't answer her question, just asked what she needed. Besides Mark, no one knew where I was living now. I was enjoying my solitude and didn't want to be disturbed. Lily had me on speakerphone, lying on my and Olivia's bed, whining, I miss you, Daddy. I want you to take me to school in a little bit. I said calmly, I'm too far away to make it back in time to take you to school, Daddy. Maybe next time. Lily was a little disappointed, then demanded as if it were her right. Then you have to take me to school tomorrow morning, Daddy. I hesitated for a second. Why don't you ask Mommy to take you? I really didn't want to go back there. Lily still had me on speaker, so Olivia could hear our conversation. She noticed my hesitation and was surprised. In the past, given how much I doted on Lily, I would have agreed to such a small request without a second thought. Not getting her way, Lily felt wronged. No, I want you to take me. Besides yesterday, You haven't taken me to school in a long time, Daddy. Hearing her insistence, I had no choice but to agree. It wasn't because I felt sorry for her, but because I had a responsibility to her. A smile finally returned to Lily's face. After hanging up, I got ready and headed to the Sinclair Corporation. There was a big meeting that morning that Olivia would also be attending. I had been seated in the conference room with the others for over 10 minutes before she finally appeared. The moment she appeared, Alex gasped, his eyes shining as he stared at Olivia, unable to look away. That afternoon, just after I left the office, my phone rang. It was Lily. Daddy, I want to eat crispy pork and water chestnut soup. Can you come back and make it for me? I paused. Olivia and I weren't officially divorced yet, so I was sure she wouldn't mind me coming back to cook for our daughter. But I was tired. Lily was my responsibility, yes, but I had my own life now. I would no longer sacrifice my own time for her unconditionally. I said, Daddy's busy today. Maybe next time. I used to prioritize Olivia and Lily above all else, almost never saying no to them. Hearing me refuse her twice in one day, Lily instantly felt wronged. Why are you so busy all the time lately, Daddy? I don't care. I want crispy pork and water chestnut soup. I felt a headache coming on. Before I could speak, Lily huffed and hung up on me in a fit of temper. I sat in my car in silence for a while before driving off. Meanwhile, after hanging up, Lily assumed I would immediately rush home to comfort her and cook for her. But she waited and waited. Over an hour passed, and it was almost 8 p.m., but I still hadn't returned. The butler, worried she was hungry, tried to persuade her. Since Mr. Hayes is busy, Miss Lily, why don't you have a little something to eat first? He can cook for you when he gets back. Lily pouted. I don't want to. Seeing that I hadn't come back after so long and hadn't even called, she felt truly aggrieved this time. At the butler's suggestion, she burst into tears. I only want to eat food that Daddy makes. The butler, thinking I was genuinely tied up, had no choice but to call Olivia. After a moment, Olivia answered. What is it? The butler explained the situation. Olivia asked him to give the phone to Lily, who took it, still sobbing. You eat first. I'll take you out this weekend, you can pick the place. The sobbing stopped. Lily was instantly happy, hung up the phone, and obediently went downstairs to eat. After dinner, Lily kept waiting for me. Around 10 that night, she heard a car pull up outside. Her eyes lit up, and she scampered downstairs. Daddy! Before the word was fully out, she saw Olivia walk in, and her cheerful voice died. Mommy! Olivia handed her coat to the butler, not missing the disappointment on Lily's face. What's wrong? I thought Daddy was back. Olivia, unconcerned with my affairs, simply said, he must be busy with something. Besides, didn't he promise to take you to school tomorrow morning? Go to bed early, and you'll see him when you wake up. Hearing this, Lily finally cheered up a bit and went to her room to sleep with a small pout. Upstairs, Olivia went to the study to handle some work. By the time she finished, it was almost midnight. She had assumed I would have returned while she was busy, but when she went back to her room, she found I wasn't there. He didn't come back? It seems something really has happened with his family. With that thought, Olivia calmly went into the bathroom. The next day, I got up early to take Lily to school. As soon as I entered the villa, I ran into Olivia coming down the stairs. I looked at her without speaking, just giving a slight nod as a greeting. Olivia paused, but before she could speak, Lily came running down the stairs and threw herself into my arms. I held her and ruffled her hair. It's getting late. Hurry up and eat breakfast. Lily snuggled against me contentedly, then happily pulled me along. Then you eat with me, Daddy. While we were talking, Olivia had already taken a seat in the dining room. I couldn't say no to my daughter, so I joined her at the dining table. As for Olivia, I completely ignored her. Olivia naturally noticed the change in my attitude. I had been the same way at the estate. Thinking of this, Olivia frowned. Just as she was about to speak, her phone rang. I happened to glance over and saw the phone on the table. The caller ID read Babe. The word stung my eyes, and I quickly looked away. Olivia noticed my glance as she looked up, but she answered the phone right in front of me without any hesitation, her voice gentle. What's wrong? Lily also noticed. In her memory, Olivia only showed such a gentle side when talking to Julian. Forgetting I was there, she asked happily, Mommy, is that Uncle Julian? Olivia replied calmly, yes. Lily was about to say she wanted to talk to him too, but then she remembered I was there. Knowing I didn't like Julian, she swallowed her words, but her good mood was spoiled. She frowned, wishing I could just get along with Uncle Julian. On the other end, Julian said something that made Olivia frown with worry. She left in a hurry without even finishing her breakfast. Seeing Olivia leave in such a rush, Lily grew worried too. She lost her appetite and pulled me up from my chair. "Daddy, I'm done eating. Let's go now." I knew she wanted to leave early to find out what was going on, but I said nothing. The moment she got in the car, Lily sat in the back and immediately sent a message to Julian. A short while later, Julian replied, saying it was just a fever and a cold, nothing serious. But his voice in the audio message sounded a bit hoarse, and Lily was still worried. She immediately messaged him back, saying she would visit him after school. As she sent the message, Lily felt a pang of guilt. She hadn't eaten my cooking in a long time and had planned to have dinner with me tonight. Luckily, she hadn't mentioned it yet. When we got to the school, Lily gave me an affectionate hug. "Okay, Daddy, I'm going in now." I just gave a quiet Lily didn't notice my coldness and skipped happily into the school. Not long after I got back to the office, Sarah came to see me. She said my handover was nearly complete and I didn't need to come in starting tomorrow. I nodded. Understood. Sarah was surprised by how readily I agreed. Before she could say anything, I extended my hand. "Thank you for everything over the years." Still a bit dazed, Sarah shook my hand. "Of course." I then gathered my personal belongings and left. Sarah couldn't believe I had really just walked away like that. Carla tapped her on the shoulder. "What are you staring at?" Sarah said slowly. "Ethan has left the company." Carla was also stunned for a moment, but then she scoffed. "He's gone for now, but that doesn't mean he won't find a way back. I bet he'll be back soon with help from the old Mrs. Sinclair." Sarah said nothing. Although it seemed unbelievable, my recent behavior made her feel that I was serious. After leaving the Sinclair Corporation, I went straight home. I figured Lily's attention was back on Julian, as I didn't receive any calls from her for the next 2 days. Late the following night, Mark came down with a fever. I quickly closed my book, grabbed my car keys, and headed out. It was pouring rain outside. I bought some medicine at a pharmacy near Mark's apartment complex. As I closed my umbrella and got into the car, the passenger door suddenly opened and a tall figure slid in. My heart leaped. As I turned my head, the black muzzle of a gun was pointed right at me. I slowly raised my hands and froze. The woman took my phone and ordered coldly, "I'm not going to hurt you. Just take me where I need to go, and then you can leave." I knew I had no choice. I started the car and asked for the destination. "To Pier 70. I'll give you directions." I replied flatly, "I know the way." I pulled the car out onto the street. Pier 70 was about a half-hour drive from here. Throughout the journey, I remained calm, driving steadily and precisely without a single wrong turn. The woman, holding the gun, watched me, her expression slowly changing. Half an hour later, the car came to a smooth stop by the curb. As the woman got out, I took my phone back and found a first aid kit in the car. "I have some medical supplies here." The smell of blood had grown stronger during the drive, and I knew she was likely badly injured. The woman paused but ignored me, getting out of the car and quickly disappearing into the darkness. I didn't press the issue and just turned the car around and left. A few minutes later, the woman boarded a waiting boat, removing her hat and mask. Her phone rang. Before she could speak, Megan's anxious voice came through. "Isabella, are you okay? My people said they couldn't find you. Where are you?" Isabella replied calmly. "There was a slight complication. I'm at the pier now." After hanging up, Isabella stared at a tall banyan tree in the distance, lost in thought. I got back to Mark's place half an hour later. I stayed and took care of him until his fever broke before I felt at ease enough to go home. The next afternoon, Chloe came to pick me up. A month ago, I had asked her for a ticket to CES, and the opening night was tonight. Once in the car, Chloe said, "So, you'll officially be back at the company tomorrow." I nodded. "Sounds good. It's perfect timing. That algorithm prodigy I told you about, Julian Vance, is also starting tomorrow. I can introduce you to." My face fell. "Julian? You're saying his name is Julian Vance? The one who just came back from London?" Chloe nodded, surprised. "You know him?" A sarcastic smile touched my lips. "He's my half-brother, and he's Olivia's lover." The next second, the car screeched to a halt. Chloe's eyes widened, and she was about to speak, but I shook my head. "I'm fine, but call me petty if you want. I don't want him in our company." Chloe's expression hardened for a moment, then she agreed without hesitation. "Okay, I support your decision. Compared to you, he's worthless to the company anyway." I was taken aback, thinking she was exaggerating. Chloe knew what I was thinking and laughed. "It's the truth. Do you know why he wants to join Apex Dynamics? He's extremely interested in our programming language, CUAP. And CUAP is the language I led a team to design and develop when I was 17. It's still unbreakable by anyone in the industry." Chloe patted my shoulder. So when I say he's worthless compared to you, I'm not exaggerating. As my senior from our academic program, she had always known how gifted I was in this field. When we arrived, the ballroom was already filled with guests. The host, an acquaintance of Chloe's, saw us and came over with a smile. But just as she was about to greet us, her eyes darted to the entrance and she froze. With our backs to the entrance, Chloe and I didn't know what was happening. The host gave us an apologetic look, then walked past us towards the door. Ms. Sinclair, Ms. Bell, Ms. Foster. My heart skipped a beat as a suspicion formed in my mind. I turned to look, and my smile faltered when I saw who it was. It was indeed Olivia, Isabella, and Megan. But they weren't alone. Julian was with them. Chloe looked at me with concern. I managed a small smile and shook my head calmly. I'm fine. I was shocked at first, but I didn't care anymore. But Chloe knew that deep down, I was a decisive person, someone who dared to think and act. For me, the only way to know if something was worth it was to try. It was the same with love. I loved Olivia, so I gambled my career, gave up further studies, and devoted myself to my family without hesitation. Now that I said I was fine and wanted to move on, Chloe believed me. She smiled. Let's get a drink. I nodded with a smile. We made our way against the crowd to the refreshment area and stood quietly, sipping our wine. Just then, someone approached us. Chloe saw them and hurried over. Professor Davis, long time no see. I have someone I'd like you to meet. The professor's eyes fell on me, a mix of admiration and confusion in her gaze. I was indeed a striking and handsome young man, but why was she being introduced to me? The programming language you've been developing recently, isn't it stuck at a bottleneck? Chloe gestured to me. This is Ethan, my junior from the program. He's a genius in language programming. CUAP was developed by a team he led 8 years ago. The professor was incredulous. Are you serious? Chloe smiled. Absolutely. I'm sure you'll see for yourself once you two talk. Professor Davis was thrilled. After asking me a couple of tentative questions, she became more and more excited as we talked, unable to stop. Chloe stood by, sipping her wine with a smile, not interrupting. Just then, Chloe looked up and saw Julian walking towards her. Before she could react, he was standing in front of her. Ms. Reed. Hearing someone greet Chloe, I turned and my eyes met Julian's. The polite smile on his face vanished the moment he saw me, his expression turning icy. He looked away after a single glance. Just as he was about to speak to Chloe, she smiled at me and said, "This is Mr. Vance. Ethan, would you like to be introduced?" Chloe's words made her stance clear. She was close to me, knew about the history between Julian and me, and was taking my side. Hearing this, Julian said coldly, "So, Ms. Reed, does this mean I don't need to report to Apex Dynamics tomorrow?" Chloe gave an appreciative smile and clapped lightly. "Mr. Vance, you truly are sharp." Chloe could have been more diplomatic, but she chose not to be. Her actions told Julian that there was no room for negotiation. She was on my side. Julian understood. He said nothing more and turned to leave. A warm smile spread across my face. As I was about to speak to Chloe, I noticed Olivia and her two friends were all looking in my direction. They probably hadn't expected to see me here. Megan and Isabella looked surprised, but Olivia's face was a blank slate, as if she were looking at a complete stranger. The event ended half an hour later, and Chloe and I left. I had just gotten home when my phone rang. It was Olivia. I paused. Was she calling to confront me? After 2 seconds, I answered calmly. Olivia's voice was cold. "Lily has a fever. She wants to see you." Then she hung up. I was stunned for a moment, then grabbed my car keys and headed out. When I arrived at the villa, Olivia was nowhere to be seen, but I didn't care. I went straight to Lily's bedroom on the 2nd floor. Lily had a high fever and was on an 4 drip. When she saw me, she weakly called out, "Daddy," and reached for me to hold her. Mindful of the 4 in her hand, I carefully lifted her into my arms. She wrinkled her nose and asked, "Where's Mommy? Isn't she back yet?" I paused. I hadn't seen Olivia when I came in and had assumed she was in the study. The hotel was closer to the villa than to my place, and she had left the event at least half an hour before me. Even if she had to drop Julian off first, she should have been home by now, unless she never planned on coming home tonight. Just then, I heard footsteps outside the door. It was Olivia. Olivia walked straight to the bed as she entered. I started to put Lily down to make room for her, but Lily clung to me, reaching out for Olivia from my arms. Olivia leaned in and took Lily from me. She was very close as she did, and I turned my face away, standing up to put some distance between us. Olivia gently placed her hand on Lily's forehead, then looked at me. "What's her temperature now? Has it gone down at all?" I had to repeat what the doctor had said. It's gone from a high fever to a low-grade one, but it's not stable yet. It could spike again. Olivia sat on the edge of the bed with Lily in her arms. Lily snuggled into her embrace but then frowned. "Mommy, your jacket is scratchy." Hearing this, Olivia took off her jacket and handed it to me. I took it out of pure reflex. A second later, I remembered that we were about to get divorced. I casually tossed the jacket aside and said to Lily, "I'm going downstairs to make some congee." Then I turned and left the room. Olivia watched me go, a frown on her face. 20 minutes later, I had the ingredients prepped and the congee simmering. When I went upstairs, I saw that Lily's four was finished and she had fallen asleep. She was sweating a lot, and Mrs. Davis was gently dabbing her forehead. Seeing me, Mrs. Davis quickly made way. She assumed I was going to take over, since I had always been hands-on with everything related to Olivia and Lily. But I shook my head. Mrs. Davis was surprised but didn't dwell on it, and carefully changed Lily into a dry set of clothes. I sat on the sofa in the room. After Mrs. Davis was done, I asked, "What did the doctor say? Is she likely to have another fever?" Mrs. Davis quickly whispered back, "The doctor said it's unlikely." That's good. Since Lily was out of the woods, I probably wouldn't need to stay the night. I sat for a little while longer before heading downstairs. Mrs. Davis was in the kitchen watching the stove. "Mr. Hayes, you must be tired. Please, sit down and rest." I didn't refuse. As I left the kitchen, I saw Olivia sitting on the living room sofa, reading a newspaper. She glanced up at me, then returned her attention to the paper. I hesitated. In the past, I would have definitely sat down to spend some time with her. But now we had nothing to talk about. With that thought, I turned and went upstairs. Olivia didn't stop me. I had just reached the second-floor landing when I saw a newly awakened Lily. "Daddy, I'm hungry. Is the congee ready?" "Almost." I touched her forehead to make sure the fever was gone, then went back to the kitchen. 5 or 6 minutes later, I came out with a bowl of congee. Lily looked puzzled. "Daddy, why is there only one bowl? Mommy is eating too." I didn't know Olivia wanted some. Before I could say anything, Mrs. Davis smiled and said, "I'll go get another bowl." Lily took a bite and her eyes crinkled with satisfaction. "I haven't had this in so long. It's delicious." Mrs. Davis chuckled. "Now that you're back home, you can have it whenever you want." I paused at her words but said nothing. Olivia sat across from me, also silent. Lily, however, was happy and, as if remembering something, pleaded with me, "Daddy, can you sleep with me tonight?" I was about to refuse, but seeing her pale face, I ultimately agreed. The next morning, after confirming Lily's fever hadn't returned, I went upstairs, grabbed my phone and car keys, and left. Not long after I left, Lily woke up. After searching for me and not finding me, she asked Mrs. Davis, "Where's Daddy?" Mrs. Davis replied gently, "He had to go out for something, but he made you breakfast before he left." Lily's mood brightened a little. She washed up and went downstairs for breakfast. Meanwhile, I returned to my place, packed my laptop and some essentials, and went directly to Apex Dynamics to start my first day. Chloe was already waiting for me at the company entrance. When she saw me, she opened her arms for a hug. "Welcome back." At the same time, in a hallway inside the building, a woman named Rachel was on the phone by a window. "Julian, when are you getting to the office?" Whatever Julian said on the other end made her expression change. Julian was her junior from college. When she learned he was drawn to CUAP and wanted to work at Apex Dynamics, she immediately recommended him to Chloe. During their initial meeting, Chloe had clearly been very impressed with him. Today was supposed to be Julian's first day. She had just called him, only to hear that Chloe had rescinded the offer for personal reasons. As for what those reasons were, just as Rachel was pondering this, she saw Chloe walk in with me. "Everyone, I'd like to introduce Ethan. He's our company's." Before she could finish, Rachel interrupted her. "Ms. Reed, is he the reason you kicked out my junior?" Chloe paused, then nodded. "I'll explain it to you later." But Rachel just stared at me. "My junior just received his PhD from a top 10 university in the world, and he's only 25. Since you were able to kick him out to get into Apex Dynamics, Mr. Hayes, your resume must be even more impressive, right?" Rachel had seen Chloe and me hugging downstairs and assumed I had gotten the job through connections. Before I could speak, she added sarcastically, "It's just that you look quite young, Mr. Hayes. One might even think you haven't even finished your doctorate yet." Chloe had planned to talk to Rachel later about why Julian wasn't being hired. It involved the personal history between Julian and me, which wasn't appropriate to discuss in front of so many people. But she hadn't expected Rachel to lash out like this. She frowned, about to intervene, but Rachel cut her off loudly. "Ms. Reed, I'm talking to Mr. Hayes. It's just a question about his education. Is it that hard to answer, Mr. Hayes? I said calmly, I don't find it hard to answer. It's true I don't have a doctorate, but before I could finish, Rachel sneered, but what? Are you going to say that even without a PhD, your professional knowledge is no less than ours? What gave you that delusion? Your handsome face? Just because you're used to women flattering you, you actually think you have real substance. At this, Chloe exploded. Rachel, reasonable suspicion was one thing, but Rachel's words were a direct insult. Rachel took off her company ID badge. I quit. I won't work for a company that operates on nepotism. With that, she turned and stormed out. I value talent, so I looked at Chloe with concern. She shook her head, signaling me not to worry. The core technology of CUAP was under a non-disclosure agreement with the government, so my identity could only be known to a select few and couldn't be explained publicly. Seeing she had it under control, I relaxed. Chloe turned to the others. Ethan may not have a doctorate, but I assure you, his professional skills are more than sufficient. I can personally vouch for that. The others in the office exchanged uncertain glances. A similar incident had happened last year when an executive brought in an incompetent but attractive new hire. So it wasn't just Rachel. Everyone thought Chloe was mixing business with pleasure. Chloe saw their reactions but wasn't worried. She simply assigned me the project Rachel had been working on. Meanwhile, at the Sinclair Corporation, Olivia flipped through a document and said to Carla, "Have someone bring me a cup of coffee." This was the first time Alex was making coffee for Olivia personally, and he was both excited and nervous. Following the steps I had taught him, he carefully brewed the coffee. Carla then brought it to Olivia. Olivia took a small sip, but immediately put the cup down. "This tastes wrong. What happened?" Carla was taken aback. "Alex was probably a little nervous since it was his first time making coffee for you, so he might have messed up the timing." Olivia frowned. "Who's Alex? Where's Ethan?" Carla froze for 2 seconds. "Ethan has already resigned from the company. Didn't you know?" Hearing this, Olivia remained completely unfazed. Everyone in our circle knew I was crazy about her. It wouldn't be long before I came running back on my own. On my end, I was busy with my work. Around 5 p.m., I went to a colleague named Tina and said, "I'm almost done. Can you take a look and see if there are any issues?" Tina looked at the files I sent over, confused at first. But 3 minutes later, her eyes widened in disbelief. "You finished all of it?" This was more than 10 days worth of work for Rachel. Not only had I finished it in less than a day, but I had also included many new approaches she hadn't considered. The other team members came over, and after understanding what had happened, they were all equally shocked. Snapping out of it, Tina stared at me incredulously. "Are you really just a master's student?" I told the truth. "I don't have a master's degree." The group was even more stunned. A team full of PhDs and master's graduates from top universities had just been completely outdone by someone with only a bachelor's degree. After chatting with everyone for a bit and helping a few people with their work problems, it was almost 7 p.m. when I left the office. As I stepped out, I found Chloe waiting at the door. "Dispelling everyone's prejudice and earning their respect on your very first day. That's just like you." I smiled. "It's all thanks to you. How about I treat you to dinner tonight?" Chloe raised an eyebrow. "What else do you think I was waiting here for?" 20 minutes later, we arrived at the restaurant. As I was walking up the steps, a child ran past, and I stumbled backward trying to avoid them. Chloe reached out and steadied me. I breathed a sigh of relief. Just as I was about to thank her, I saw Olivia and Megan a short distance away. They saw me too, but I ignored them and went upstairs with Chloe. Seeing my reaction, Megan looked at Olivia in disbelief. "That was your husband, right? Is this some new tactic he's trying to make you jealous and get your attention?" Olivia didn't respond, her expression unreadable. When they reached their private room, Julian and Lily were already there. Julian asked, "What's so funny?" Megan smiled. "Nothing. We just ran into someone interesting." After dinner, Olivia and Lily went home. As soon as she got out of the car, Lily ran happily upstairs, calling out "Daddy" as she went. Mrs. Davis heard her and came out of the kitchen. "Mr. Hayes isn't back yet." Lily's face fell, and she trudged upstairs unhappily. The next morning, Lily woke up expecting to find breakfast made by me, but I was nowhere to be seen. She looked at Olivia. "Mommy, where did Daddy go?" Olivia, of course, had no idea. "If you want to know, call him yourself." That evening, as I was about to leave work, I got a call from Lily. "Daddy, when are you coming home? I want your sweet and sour ribs." To be honest, I didn't want to go. I rubbed my temples, about to refuse, when Lily added, "Mommy's on a business trip, and I'm so bored. Please come back soon, Daddy." Olivia was on a business trip? I thought about it. We were getting divorced, so I didn't have to care about Olivia, but I was still responsible for Lily until she turned 18. With that in mind, I agreed. All right, I'll be back in a little while. That night, I made Lily the sweet and sour ribs she had been craving. I stayed there for the next 2 days. On Friday, my grandmother called and asked me to come home for dinner, so I took Lily with me to my family's house. The next morning, when I went to wake Lily, she was already up and washing her face. As I was picking up her pajamas, I saw her tablet light up with a message from Julian. Are you awake, Lily? Uncle is coming back this afternoon. Let's have dinner tonight, and I'll take you out to play tomorrow. Okay. I glanced at it, then looked away, taking her pajamas to the washing machine. When I returned, Lily was already on her tablet. When she saw me, she quickly hid the tablet to prevent me from seeing her chat with Julian. I didn't call her out on it. The dumplings are ready. Come downstairs for breakfast. Lily jumped happily off the bed. I haven't had your dumplings in forever, Daddy. During breakfast, my grandmother asked cheerfully, Lily, what do you want for dinner tonight? Grandma will have it made for you. Lily knew that my grandmother also disliked Julian. Her eyes darted around, and she said quietly, Grandma, Mommy is coming back tonight, so I want to eat at home. My grandmother was a bit reluctant, as she hadn't seen Lily in a long time. But Lily had been very clingy with Olivia these past couple of years, so she didn't think much of it. I knew Lily was lying, but I didn't expose her. I put some food on my grandmother's plate and said, It's okay, I'll stay and keep you company. Lily had been worried about how to ditch me to go see Julian that evening. Hearing my words, she breathed a sigh of relief. When it was time for Lily to leave, I contacted Olivia's butler and had him arrange for a driver to pick her up, rather than taking her myself. My grandmother found it a bit odd but didn't press the matter. Over the weekend, Lily must have been having a blast with Julian and his friends, because she never contacted me. On Monday night, I had dinner plans with Mark. When we were almost done eating, I went to the restroom and ran into Isabella. I pretended not to see her and walked right past. But Isabella stopped and turned her head to look at me. When I came out of the restroom, she was still standing there. Seeing me, she asked, Having dinner here? I replied coldly, Yes. Or do you think I followed you here again? Isabella paused before saying, That's not what I meant. I didn't know what she meant, and I didn't care. I just walked away. She didn't stop me. After leaving the restaurant, Mark wanted to buy a birthday gift for his mother, so I went with him to a jewelry store. He was looking at a jade necklace and had just started talking to the manager when someone called my name. Ethan. Richard Vance, my father, walked towards me. Are you here to order some jewelry too? I glanced at him but said nothing. Seeing my cold demeanor, his expression darkened. Ethan, must you speak to your father this way? I know I've made mistakes in the past, but you know you've always been in my heart. I burst out laughing. Yes, I'm in your heart, which is why you let Julian get close to my wife and even had my wife take care of him? Richard frowned. I can understand how you feel, but Julian and Olivia are truly in love. You can't force feelings. Why must you? I scoffed. Right, you can't force feelings. That's why you felt so justified in cheating all those years ago. And now he's just like you, a homewrecker who acts proud and righteous about it. Richard's face darkened. Ethan, when did you become so extreme? I sneered. Extreme? Would it not be extreme if I just divorced Olivia immediately to make way for Julian? Just then, his sister Laura and her son walked in. Laura saw me first. Isn't that Ethan? Long time no see. You're looking more handsome than ever. Richard looked at her. Laura, what are you two doing here? Her son chimed in. We saw you were gone for a while, Uncle, so we came to check. Then, seeing the open jewelry box on the counter, he looked at me and said loudly, Uncle Richard, is this the anniversary gift you had custom made for Aunt? It's beautiful. Richard just smiled. Mark, having heard enough, had figured out who they were. What a bunch of characters, he muttered under his breath, paid for his purchase, and pulled me away. But Richard called out to me, Ethan, you and Julian are brothers. I hope what happened with Apex Dynamics doesn't happen again. I almost laughed in anger. Are you trying to disgust me on purpose? Richard sighed. Ethan, Julian is a genius in the AI field. He had important reasons for wanting to join Apex Dynamics. In the future, try to control your temper and stop targeting him. I looked at him, my eyes devoid of any warmth. Are you done? If you're done, you can get lost. Seeing that I was completely unresponsive, Richard looked disappointed. Let's go. With that, Richard took his custom gift and left. Mark looked at me worriedly. I waved it off. I'm fine. From the moment he divorced my mother, he stopped being my father in my heart. It's just, I feel like I've been slimed. We headed to the parking lot. Before getting in the car, my phone rang. It was Olivia. I paused for 2 or 3 seconds before answering. Grandma has invited us to the Calistoga Springs Resort tomorrow. Come back tonight, and I'll have a car pick you and Lily up. I refused. No need. I can just drive there myself from the office. But on the other end, Lily whined, Daddy, come back and go with me. The resort is so far away. It'll be so boring to go by myself. I hesitated, then finally gave in. That evening, I left work on time and went to the villa. Lily was already waiting in the car, but Olivia hadn't returned yet. We waited for over 20 minutes, and Lily frowned. Mommy is so slow. I calmly read my book. Just then, the butler ran out. Ma'am said she's caught up with something and can't make it back right now. She said for you and Miss Lily to go ahead to the resort, and she'll arrive later. It made no difference to me. I nodded to the driver. Let's go. Olivia said she would be there later, but she never showed up even late into the night. Her grandmother was angry, Lily was unhappy, but I acted as if nothing was wrong, calmly making tea for the old woman. The matriarch was in a bad mood and went to bed early. The next morning when I woke up, I was alone. Lily was gone. I asked around and found out that because Olivia hadn't come, Lily found it boring and had someone take her down the mountain early in the morning to go play somewhere else. As for her grandmother, she had caught a chill the night before and had a bad headache, so she had already returned to the estate before I woke up. Not wanting to disturb my rest, she hadn't had anyone inform me. Suddenly, in the vast resort, I was the only guest left. Even if Lily was bored, she could have waited for me to wake up and take her somewhere. The fact that she left so secretly without a word probably wasn't because she was afraid of waking me, but because she had heard from Olivia and was going to meet up with her and Julian. She probably snuck away because she was afraid I would ask questions and forbid her from going. But I didn't dwell on it. I quite enjoyed my time alone. It gave me more time to focus on my own things. By Sunday afternoon, I was planning to have dinner and then head home. Just then, I received a call from Mrs. Sinclair. Ethan, I called Olivia this morning and told her to pick you up from the resort tonight. Has she contacted you? Of course not. Not her and not Lily, who hadn't contacted me at all since she snuck away yesterday. But I wasn't going to tell her grandmother that and cause more trouble. I simply said, yes. Hearing this, Mrs. Sinclair was relieved. Good, that's good. After asking about her health, I hung up. Her grandmother had said Olivia would pick me up after sunset, but I waited at the resort until almost 9 p.m., and she still hadn't appeared. I didn't want to wait any longer, so I had the resort arrange a car to take me back. In the car, my phone suddenly rang. It was Mark. I answered the call. Mark, he spoke quickly. You know that charity gala I had to attend tonight? I can't believe I saw your deadbeat dad and Julian there. Just now, some guy started yelling at Julian, accusing him of being a homewrecker and stealing his fiancée, then threw a glass of red wine on him. It was a pretty ugly scene. I was just enjoying the drama when, you won't believe it, your wife showed up. I froze. Mark continued through gritted teeth. This is an all-star charity event, man. It's being live-streamed. Even though Julian and his crowd aren't famous, the moment she appeared to defend him was caught on camera and broadcast live. Mark sent me a link to the live stream. I opened it. I couldn't make out what anyone was saying, but the video clearly showed the man confronting Julian, the argument, and the wine being thrown. Then, the man's fiancée rushed over and tried to stop him, and they started arguing. Next, Richard tried to de-escalate, attempting to reason with them, but the man's family wasn't having it. They laid into Richard's group, and the Van Cess faces turned grim. It looked like the girl's family was hurling insults at them. Just then, Olivia appeared. She immediately comforted Julian, then turned and said a few words to the man's elders before pulling Julian away without a backward glance. Because the gala was star-studded, it had a huge online audience. Although no one knew who Julian or the other man were, everyone loves drama. And when people found out that the woman who rescued Julian was Olivia Sinclair, the video's popularity exploded. As the buzz grew, some of Julian's fans recognized him. A PhD from a top 3 university at 25, a race car driver, an adventurer, and a hacker. Oh my God, his resume is insane. Is he for real? I heard that when he raced last time, Miss Sinclair was there to support him too. Did you see the look in her eyes in the photos? It was pure admiration and pride for her boyfriend. I didn't read any further and closed the browser. Mrs. Sinclair had told me she contacted Olivia to pick me up, but it was past 10, and Olivia hadn't even called. I didn't dwell on it. I got home at 11, took a shower, and fell asleep, sleeping soundly through the night. The next day, I woke up and went to work as usual. Around noon, a call came in from Lily. It was the first time she had called me since sneaking away from the resort. I answered. Daddy. I grunted in acknowledgement. Have you had lunch? Lily replied obediently. Just finished. That morning at the resort, she had gotten a call from Uncle Julian, who said he and Mommy were out having fun and asked if she wanted to join them. She immediately agreed and snuck away while I wasn't looking. They had a great time and only returned to the city yesterday afternoon. But they didn't come home last night. It was only this morning, back at school, that she remembered me. She felt a little guilty and worried I might be angry, so she called. However, hearing me ask if she had eaten, it seemed I wasn't mad about her sneaking away. After chatting with Lily about her schoolwork for a bit, I hung up. Back at the office, Chloe came over.
CES is tomorrow.
We'll all head out from the office together. I nodded. Sounds good. The next morning, not long after I started driving, my car suddenly broke down. The car behind me couldn't stop in time and rear-ended me, causing a chain reaction collision. A chorus of angry shouts erupted from the drivers behind me. My car was immobile. After apologizing to the drivers behind me, I immediately called for emergency services and waited for them to arrive. The problem was, I was in a hurry to get to the conference. Just then, a tall figure walked over from the sidewalk on the other side. Isabella? I really didn't want to deal with her. I first called Chloe to explain the situation and told her and the team to go on ahead. I would join them after I sorted things out. Dealing with a traffic accident like this was a hassle. By the time I was done, the conference would probably be over. Chloe said, "Hold on, I'll call someone to help you, but it'll probably take them at least half an hour to get to you." I breathed a sigh of relief. That's fine. I can arrive late, as long as I don't miss the whole thing. After hanging up, I was about to talk to the other drivers when Isabella suddenly spoke. "I'll have someone handle this for you. Where are you going? I'll give you a ride." I was stunned. 5 minutes later, I was in Isabella's car. We sat in the back, a noticeable distance between us, but I still felt a bit awkward. About 40 minutes later, the car arrived at the entrance to CES. I got out and said politely to Isabella, "Thank you." Isabella just grunted in acknowledgement. I gave another polite nod and turned to leave. A moment after I left, a black sedan pulled up next to her car. Julian thought he was mistaken, but after getting out and checking the license plate, he confirmed it was her. He knocked on her window. The window slowly rolled down. Julian leaned in. "Isabella, it really is you. What are you doing here?" Isabella got out of the car. "I was dropping off a friend." Just then, Richard and Laura also got out of their car and hurried over to greet her. Isabella nodded in return. "Mr. Vance, Ms. Vance." After a few pleasantries, Isabella received a call. The conference was about to start, so Julian and his family left. Meanwhile, I met up with Chloe and the team at the entrance. Chloe leaned in and whispered, "Dr. Sterling is attending this year." My eyes widened. Chloe raised an eyebrow and smiled. "Good thing you found help in time. If she knew you were late, I imagine." I instantly understood what she meant. Our mentor didn't care about excuses. To her, being late meant you weren't taking it seriously. She was already angry enough that I had gotten married and given up my career to be a stay-at-home dad right after graduation. I couldn't imagine what would happen if she found out I was late on the very day we were reuniting. The exhibition hall was enormous, filled with drones, flying cars, humanoid robots, and more. The sheer number of exhibits, each with its own core technology, was overwhelming from the moment we walked in. Chloe was well known in the industry, and people started coming over to greet her shortly after we arrived. She, in turn, introduced me to some of her contacts. As I was smiling and greeting people, I was facing the entrance, and my gaze met that of Julian and his group, who had just walked in. Julian paused, surprised to see me. After all, this conference was a coveted networking event for the tech elite, and every pass was precious. Chloe was a major shareholder in Apex Dynamics. While the employees might not say anything about her hiring me, a bachelor's degree holder, giving such a valuable pass to a new hire with my credentials would surely ruffle the feathers of the other top talents at the company. Richard and Laura saw me too, and they frowned, equally surprised to see me here. I glanced at them once and then looked away. Richard saw me chatting with a tall woman, looking quite friendly, and frowned, asking Julian, "Do you know that woman, Julian?" Julian replied flatly, "That's Chloe Reed." Richard was surprised. He knew I had left Sinclair Corporation and joined Apex Dynamics, but he had assumed I was just a regular employee. He hadn't expected Chloe to value me so highly. After some time, Chloe suddenly came over and pointed in a direction. Olivia. So she was here too. Her tech company was very influential, and she was tech-savvy herself, so I had suspected she might come. Besides, with Julian here, how could she not be? And there she was, standing right next to Julian. They were surrounded by a crowd, looking for all the world like a legitimate public couple. Then I saw Megan. She was here too, but she was deep in conversation and hadn't noticed me. Chloe was clearly annoyed. Are you really not going to go say hi? We weren't divorced yet. If I publicly revealed myself as Olivia's husband, she was curious to see how Olivia and Julian would react. I knew what she was thinking and shook my head. There's no need. Besides, if I push Olivia too far, she'd probably expose the whole story of how I supposedly trapped her into marriage, all for Julian's sake. Even though I didn't do it, with so many industry leaders here, if it's not handled well, it could even affect my uncle's business. I didn't want to act on a momentary impulse. I looked away. Tina and the others called me over to help them with something, so I turned and walked away, no longer paying any attention to Olivia's group. As I turned, Megan spotted me. At that moment, Julian had walked over to his father, leaving Olivia's side. Megan went over and nudged Olivia with her elbow, gesturing in my direction. Your husband is here too. Olivia looked where Megan was pointing and, sure enough, saw me. I was holding a tablet, turned to the side, explaining some technical concepts about an exhibit to Tina and the others. Megan raised an eyebrow. Who are those people with your husband? Is he explaining the core technology of the exhibit to them? Is your husband that brilliant? Olivia just watched me, her gaze steady, without saying a word. At that moment, as if sensing her stare, I looked over, and our eyes met across the distance. I paused. The distance was a bit too far for me to read the emotion in her eyes, but I noticed that she seemed to smile faintly. Puzzled, I looked away. Megan noticed it too. What are you smiling at? Olivia's smile vanished. Nothing. Megan didn't think much of it. She saw that when I looked at them, especially at Olivia, my expression was as calm as if I were looking at a stranger. She raised an eyebrow, wondering if I was playing hard to get or just being tactful. Just then, Julian walked over. What are you talking about? Megan was the quickest to react, smiling and saying, Nothing. Are you guys done chatting? Before Julian could answer, someone brought Professor Davis over. Professor Davis, this is the algorithm prodigy I was telling you about, Mr. Vance. This was the same Professor Chloe had introduced me to at the gala. That day, things had seemed a bit tense between Julian and Chloe. Seeing Julian now, she didn't bring it up, just smiled and shook his hand. Hello, Mr. Vance. The Vance family's tech company was in desperate need of talented individuals. Knowing Professor Davis's reputation, Julian was very polite. Richard also came over to greet her. Afterward, Julian and the professor started talking. They were at this conference to network. Of course, after Olivia arrived, while making connections, Richard and Laura were also keeping an eye on her, curious to see how she would react to seeing me. They soon discovered that Olivia had no reaction at all upon seeing me, as if I were a stranger. They had heard rumors that I had used underhanded tactics to force Olivia into marrying me. She had no feelings for me and was rarely home after the wedding. It seemed the rumors were true. The main conference was about to begin. Chloe and I were representing Apex Dynamics in the main hall. We walked in ahead of the others. Seeing that I was allowed into the main hall, Julian and Laura were quite surprised. Laura said to Julian, Does Chloe Reed really value him that much? Julian didn't reply. Although they had passes for the conference, seating in the main hall was limited. Since their company hadn't contributed an exhibit, they would normally be seated in the back. However, Olivia had Julian sit with her in the front row. After a while, the host finished his long introduction and announced, Next, please welcome Dr. Annabelle Sterling to the stage to give her speech. Dr. Sterling's name was world-renowned, but she was actually still young, only in her early 40s. She was tall and slender. As the host finished, she walked slowly to the center of the stage amidst thunderous applause. Her calm gaze swept over the audience, and the hall instantly fell silent. After a few brief pleasantries, she gave a simple summary and affirmation of the exhibits, then answered some questions from the industry professionals in the audience. After about half an hour, Dr. Sterling came down from the stage and walked towards the front row seat reserved for her by the organizers. As she passed, all the industry titans in the front row stood up to shake her hand. As she approached, Olivia stood up, and Julian, beside her, followed suit. Olivia extended her hand. Dr. Sterling, it's been a long time. Dr. Sterling coolly shook her hand. Indeed, it has been a long time. Over a decade, if I recall correctly. Her coldness wasn't personal. She was like that with everyone in public, including her own students. Julian also extended his hand. Hello, Dr. Sterling. I'm Julian Vance. It's an honor to meet you. Dr. Sterling glanced at him, shook his hand, and then sat down. Julian wanted to talk to her more, but Olivia was sitting between them. Seeing that Olivia wasn't initiating a conversation, he was surprised and leaned over to whisper, Did you and Dr. Sterling have a falling out in the past? Olivia smiled. No. The opportunity to speak with Dr. Sterling was rare. Everyone wanted a chance to talk to her. He had considered asking Olivia to switch seats, but Dr. Sterling was currently engaged in a pleasant conversation with another industry leader. As a junior with little reputation, interrupting them would likely offend the other party. So he gave up the idea. She doesn't think much of me. Julian was stunned, thinking he had misheard. But seeing the smile on Olivia's face, he knew he hadn't. But Olivia seemed completely unbothered, so Julian didn't press further. After some time, the conference finally ended. Many people immediately rushed towards the front row. Laura saw this and grew anxious, waving Julian over. Julian saw her and, before she could speak, said, "Dr. Sterling is surrounded by major figures right now. Even if I squeezed in, I wouldn't get more than a few words." Olivia said, "We'll find another opportunity to talk to her privately." Laura finally understood. After chatting with her for a bit, Julian returned to Olivia's side. Seeing him stand next to her, someone commented with a friendly smile, "Mr. Vance is both talented and handsome. Olivia, you have excellent taste and great fortune." Olivia smiled. Julian also laughed graciously. "You're too kind, Mr. Yuan." Dr. Sterling was short on time and, after a little while, announced she had to leave. No one dared to stop her. Meanwhile, we were networking with technicians from other companies. For us, getting a meeting with Dr. Sterling wasn't exactly easy, but it wasn't difficult either. Sure enough, a short while after Dr. Sterling left, Chloe received a message and pulled me out of the hall. We went to the parking lot to meet her. I stopped and called out, "Professor." Dr. Sterling gave a cool "I saw your exhibit. It's passable," but her cold gaze swept over us. "It's been 3 years, and this is all you have to show for it." Chloe and I instantly felt our scalps tingle. Chloe quickly said, "We're already preparing a new product. We should have a prototype by next year." Dr. Sterling replied coolly, "Don't come to see me again until it's done." Chloe and I exchanged a look. "Yes, Professor." Dr. Sterling continued, "Send me a review of the conference by tonight." Chloe and I swallowed hard. "Yes, Professor." Then Chloe quickly added, Professor, tonight might be a bit difficult. Could we have a month?" With so many exhibits and technical summaries, she figured it would be tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of words. How could they possibly finish it all in one night? Dr. Sterling said nothing, just looked at us. Though she appeared gentle and elegant, her stare was something few people could withstand. Chloe immediately straightened up. "Understood. We'll get it done." I felt a sense of dread. That concluded our conversation. Then Dr. Sterling looked at me. I stood ramrod straight. "Professor." Dr. Sterling glanced at me and said coldly, "What kind of person did you find?" Then she turned and left. I was stunned. Chloe said, "She was talking about your wife." I understood then, but what had they talked about? Chloe shook her head. "I have no idea." While we were talking with Dr. Sterling, Julian and Laura came out and saw us. Watching Dr. Sterling walk away, Laura said to Julian, "It doesn't matter. He doesn't have your professional skills. So what if he knows her? He'll never be her student." Julian nodded. "I know. Let's go." After Dr. Sterling left, we also returned to the exhibition hall. I saw Olivia again later, but I didn't approach her, and she didn't approach me. We were like complete strangers. Julian and his family didn't leave either. Back at the jewelry store, Richard had approached me, claiming he cared about me. But today, in this setting, despite seeing me multiple times, he didn't come over to show any concern like before. After all, with Julian present, everyone knew he was Julian's father. If he acknowledged me and people found out about my marriage to Olivia, how could he face anyone? Julian would be torn apart by public opinion. It was painfully obvious how much Richard favored Julian. He didn't want to be associated with me in this setting, but he couldn't afford not to know Chloe. So while I was in the restroom, he, Julian, and Laura approached Chloe. He introduced himself, "Ms. Reed, hello, I'm Richard Vance, Julian and Ethan's father. It's a pleasure to meet you." Chloe shook his hand gracefully. "Mr. Vance, a pleasure." Richard glanced at Julian and said, "Ethan can be a bit extreme, and there's a misunderstanding between him and Julian. As their father, I've always hoped they could get along, but unfortunately, Ethan just won't listen." Chloe feigned understanding. "Oh, I see. Yes," Richard sighed, then smiled. "But I'm very happy for Ethan that he's met such an outstanding woman like you. I hear he's working at your company now. I'd appreciate it if you could look out for him." He certainly sounded like a concerned father. If Chloe hadn't known the full story about my past and my relationship with Olivia, she might have even believed him. But she didn't let on. "You're too kind, Mr. Vance. Ethan is exceptional. We're lucky to have him at Apex Dynamics. Richard and Julian both assumed Chloe was just being polite. With my resume, what help could I possibly be to her? At most, I'd be doing menial tasks or the work of a junior programmer. Richard continued, as for Julian, I'm sure you're aware of his qualifications. He's always been very interested in CUAP and would love the opportunity to work at Apex Dynamics. Although Olivia had arranged for Julian to meet Dr. Sterling soon, giving him future opportunities to learn about CUAP, Apex Dynamics was thriving, and Chloe herself came from a wealthy family. Building a good relationship with her was certainly not a bad move. Chloe looked at Julian and said, Mr. Vance is indeed very impressive, and I would be delighted if he could join Apex Dynamics. It's just that Ethan is my friend. Julian no longer felt it was essential to join Apex Dynamics. He just didn't want to make an enemy of Chloe. After all, it's better to have one more friend than one more enemy. Julian said, I understand and I won't insist. You don't need to worry, Ms. Reed. From a distance, it looked like they were having a very pleasant conversation. I saw them as I came out of the restroom and paused. Laura saw me and so did Julian. He calmly said to Chloe, we have other matters to attend to, so we'll be going. Let's talk again next time. Chloe shook their hands. Then, without another glance in my direction, Julian turned and left with Richard and Laura. Given Chloe's status, as noon approached, many industry leaders came to invite her to lunch. From what they were saying, it sounded like Olivia would be joining them. A crowd of industry leaders had gathered around Olivia, likely all heading to lunch together. The future direction of the AI field would largely be determined by these people. This was a prime opportunity to gain insight into market trends. Moreover, if the conversation went well, a business deal could be sealed by the end of the meal. Chloe was clearly interested in going. She looked at me, silently asking for my opinion. I said firmly, I'll go. Just because Olivia and I were acting like strangers didn't mean I had to avoid her. The group of executives led Chloe and me over to where Olivia was standing. Olivia watched us approach with a calm expression, but Julian frowned. Richard and Laura's faces soured when they saw me. Someone who hadn't yet greeted Chloe came over to do so. When it was Olivia's turn, she also shook Chloe's hand. After some small talk, Olivia and Julian were ushered to the front of the group as they headed to the parking lot. Chloe and I followed behind. Richard and Laura quietly found an opportunity to walk beside me, trying to signal that I shouldn't come along. But I pretended not to see them. There were over 20 of us in total, and we all sat around a large circular table. Naturally, Olivia sat next to Julian. Laura had actually wanted to sit next to me, worried I might say something inappropriate during the meal. But she was a step too slow, and Chloe took the last seat beside me. Olivia handed the menu to Julian, letting him order. The people sitting near them smiled. Ms. Sinclair and Mr. Vance seemed to have a wonderful relationship. A smile played on Julian's lips. Chloe also took a menu and asked me what I wanted. Hearing the comment from the other side of the table, she glanced over, then looked at me. My expression remained neutral. When Chloe asked, I discussed the menu with her and we ordered a couple of dishes. Seeing that I wasn't going to cause a scene, Laura and Richard relaxed a bit. I wasn't paying attention to their side of the table because the person sitting next to me was Professor Davis. She had known I was at the conference. We had a great conversation at the gala, and she had been wanting to find another chance to talk. We had both been too busy, but now that we had run into each other, she didn't want to miss the opportunity. So, shortly after we sat down, she struck up a conversation with me. Seeing Professor Davis chatting amiably with me, Julian and Laura just assumed I was asking her some professional questions and didn't pay much attention. The person sitting on the other side of the professor teased, "You really can't help yourself, can you, Professor? It's an occupational hazard. You've been talking all day, and now even at lunch, you can't stop." Another person chimed in with a laugh. "Isn't that the truth?" Earlier in the exhibition hall, she also had a long chat with Mr. Vance. Seeing the conversation turn to her, Professor Davis smiled and retorted good-naturedly, "Usually when I try to talk to you about technical matters, you just push me off to your engineers. Now that I'm not talking to you, you're all feeling left out." Someone else added, "After talking with Mr. Vance in the hall, the professor was just telling me how there are more and more promising talents these days, and that the future of our country is bright. Mr. Vance is a graduate of a world-class university. He's the very definition of promising talent." Hearing everyone praise him, Julian smiled modestly. "You're all too kind." Given Olivia's high status, everyone was naturally inclined to flatter her companion. As for me, people had heard I was just an employee at Chloe's company. Although my relationship with her seemed ambiguous, I had no other notable background, so no one paid me much attention. Once the food arrived, the conversation flowed more freely. Someone couldn't help but say, Ms. Sinclair, your self-driving car, and Ms. Reed's smart traffic programming language are highly compatible. It's an exciting prospect. Are you two really not considering a collaboration? Hearing this, Olivia picked up her napkin, dabbed her lips, and looked at Chloe with a smile. I have indeed been thinking about it. I wonder what Ms. Reed's thoughts are. Chloe wasn't about to let a golden opportunity pass her by. To be considered by Ms. Sinclair is an honor for Apex Dynamics. Julian would be happy to see Olivia and Chloe collaborate. After all, if they worked closely, he would have more opportunities to interact with Chloe, making it easier to win her over. At that thought, he shot me a cold look. If Chloe really wanted to work with Olivia, I had no objections. There was no reason to turn down a good business deal. As the meal was winding down, Mr. Yuan and his management team started a conversation with Chloe. I joined them. I was good with the technical side, but the business negotiations were Chloe's domain. I sat quietly, rarely speaking, but when I saw Chloe's water glass was empty, I took it. Let me get you a refill. Chloe smiled and said, thank you. Seeing me act as Chloe's assistant, Julian and Laura became even more convinced that my role at Apex Dynamics was essentially to run errands for her. I took 2 steps with the glass, and as I neared Olivia, someone to my side turned suddenly and bumped into me. I lost my balance and stumbled forward, glass in hand, ending up grabbing onto Olivia to steady myself. The surrounding crowd paused. It looked like I had been bumped, but who knew if it was intentional? Still, I was undeniably handsome, and many thought I was even better looking than Julian. But Olivia coolly pushed me away, completely unmoved. I straightened up, murmured a quiet sorry, and turned to leave. Richard frowned. He felt he had misjudged me. I seemed quiet, but apparently, I was full of schemes. Chloe noticed what happened, quickly ended her conversation with Mr. Yuan, and came over to me. Did you twist your ankle? My ankle did hurt. I had probably sprained it. Seeing Chloe's concern warmed my heart, but it also brought a pang of sadness. I noticed the looks from the people around me. They all thought I had intentionally thrown myself at Olivia. As for Olivia, she hadn't even been willing to steady me properly. The only person here who genuinely cared was Chloe. Let me take a look. I quickly refused. No, it's fine. There are so many people here. Chloe ignored me, helped me to a sofa, and knelt down. Seeing that my ankle was indeed swollen, she asked a waiter to call a doctor. After the doctor left, Chloe started applying ointment. I tried to do it myself, but she shot me a glare, so I gave up. With my injured ankle, it was inconvenient to go back to the exhibition hall. Chloe had someone record the rest of the event so I could review it later. She said a quick goodbye to the others and took me home. Back home, just as I was about to go to sleep, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I hesitated for a moment before answering. Hello, who is this? Isabella. I froze. Olivia's best friend, the woman who had eyed me with suspicion at the racetrack and treated me with cold indifference at the tech conference. What could she possibly want with me? My ankle was still throbbing, and I had no energy to deal with anyone from Olivia's circle. Is there something you need? My tone was equally cold. There's a truth about Julian that you might be interested in. She paused, then added, it's also about your marriage to Olivia. My heart sank. The truth? 7 years of marriage, a farcical one-man show, and there was a script I didn't even know about? I was silent for a moment before finally saying, when and where? Tomorrow at 3 p.m., the Quiet Cup coffee shop on the west side. With that, she hung up. I clutched my phone, sleepless all night. The next day, I arrived at the coffee shop 5 minutes early. Isabella was already at a window seat, a full cup of coffee in front of her. She was dressed in a sharp black suit, her expression serious. When I sat down, she took a USB drive from her bag and pushed it across the table to me. On here, she said, is the complete truth about you and Olivia being caught in the act 7 years ago. I stared at the small drive, my fingers trembling slightly. Isabella gave me no time to process, launching directly into the story. Julian never had good intentions. He knew Olivia had feelings for him, but he was about to go abroad for his studies and was afraid you'd win her over in his absence. So, he conspired with Carla, who was Olivia's assistant at the time, to stage the whole thing. Her words were like an icy pick, shattering the scar tissue around my heart. On your birthday, Carla put something in your drink. It was a light dose, just enough to make you dizzy and disoriented. Then she helped you to Olivia's room and notified Julian. Julian then happened to show up with Olivia's friends and caught you. His goal was to make Olivia believe you were a lowlife who would do anything to marry into wealth, ensuring she would be deeply disgusted by you. So that was it. I let out a bitter laugh, full of self-mockery. I had always thought it was a cruel joke of fate, never imagining it was an elaborate setup from the very beginning. Why are you telling me this? I asked, looking at her. My family and the investors behind Julian are frenemies. I've been investigating them and stumbled upon this by accident. She pointed to a faint scar on her arm. The injury I got a while back was retaliation for digging too deep. You were just an innocent bystander caught in the crossfire. She paused, her gaze complex. I just don't understand why you never explained. Why? I closed my eyes, the image of my mother's pale, confused face flashing in my mind. Because I needed the Sinclair family's resources, I said calmly, revealing my deepest secret to an outsider for the first time. My mother's mental health is very poor, and she needs long-term, top-tier medical care. At the time, I had nothing but unproven talent. Marrying Olivia was the only way to guarantee my mother the best care. And secondly, I opened my eyes, my gaze fixed on the traffic outside. I loved her. I didn't want her to know that the first love she cherished was a hypocrite who would use such despicable means to manipulate her. That truth would have been too cruel for her. Isabella was silent for a long time. You're a good person and a fool. I already sent a copy of what's on this drive to Olivia last night. Whether she looks at it or not is her business. My part is done. She stood up and left, leaving me alone with the 7-year-old truth that had finally been unearthed. I didn't go home right away. Instead, I drove to Apex Dynamics. When Chloe saw me, she asked about my ankle. I shook my head and handed her the USB drive. After she watched it, she was shaking with rage and slammed her fist on the table. Bastards! Those absolute bastards! Ethan, let's release this. We'll ruin Julian. I stopped her, shaking my head gently. There's no need, Chloe. It's all in the past. Yes, it was all in the past. The moment I learned the truth, I felt no desire for revenge, only a weary sense of finality. I didn't want to waste any more energy on those people. My future was at Apex Dynamics, here with the woman standing before me, furious on my behalf. Chloe looked into my calm eyes, finally sighing and taking my hand. Okay, I'll listen to you. Whatever you decide, I'll support you. Her hand was warm, and that warmth flowed from my fingertips straight to my heart. The world seemed unusually quiet for the next 2 days. Then, on the third night, my phone began to ring incessantly. The caller ID was Olivia Sinclair. I declined, but she called back immediately. Over and over, so persistent it felt like she would make the phone explode. I finally answered but said nothing. On the other end, I heard her ragged, frantic breathing, laced with a choked sob. Ethan, where are you? Why didn't you answer? The letter. I saw the letter. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She was rambling, completely stripped of her usual high and mighty composure. Miss Sinclair, is there something you need? If not, I'm hanging up. My voice was as calm as still water. Don't hang up, she shrieked. Ethan, please come back. Can we just talk? I'm begging you. I didn't give her another chance to speak and ended the call. The next day, she showed up at Apex Dynamics. Chloe went down personally to intercept her in the lobby. Miss Sinclair, I'm sorry, but Ethan is in a very important meeting and cannot be disturbed. I'm his wife. Olivia's eyes were red, losing her composure in public for the first time. But not for much longer, right? Chloe's smile was polite, but she didn't budge an inch. Olivia was left speechless and had to leave in humiliation. She started trying every possible way to find me, going to my old condo, to my parents' house, but found nothing. She was like a woman possessed. The proud queen of the Sinclair Empire was tasting the bitterness of unrequited longing for the first time. The final straw was our daughter, Lily. That night, I got a video call from Lily. On the screen, she was sobbing uncontrollably. Daddy, I'm sorry. Mommy told me everything. Uncle Julian is a bad person. Daddy, it's my fault. I never listened to you, and I was always mean to you. Please don't leave me. Sob. Looking at my daughter's tear-stained face, I felt the ice around my heart crack for the first time in 7 years. I comforted her softly. Don't cry, Lily. It's not your fault. You're just a child. Daddy will always be your daddy. We talked for a long time and made plans to see each other on the weekend. The years of distance between us finally melted away in that moment. Perhaps the call with Lily gave Olivia hope, because she finally found me that weekend when I took Lily to an amusement park. She stood at a distance, watching us laugh together, the pain and regret in her eyes almost overflowing. She had lost a lot of weight, her face was gaunt, and she had none of her former radiance. After I put Lily in the car to go home, she blocked my path. Ethan, she said, her voice hoarse, can we start over? She tried to take my hand, but I subtly moved it away. I was wrong. I was so wrong, she cried, tears streaming down her face. I shouldn't have misunderstood you. I shouldn't have been so cold to you. For 7 years, I treated you like you were invisible, took all your kindness for granted. The assets, the company, I don't want any of it. I just want you and Lily. Can we be a family again, please? I watched her quietly, this woman I had loved for 7 years. There was a time when her every smile could move my heart, and her every cold glance could keep me up all night. But now, watching her tearful confession, I felt nothing. Olivia, I said softly, it's too late. Love can fade. It isn't destroyed by one big event. It gets worn away, piece by piece. Every time you brought up divorce and only wanted our daughter, every time you took my efforts for granted, every time you and Julian were laughing with my child while I stood on the outside looking in. The final straw was on my birthday in that restaurant when I heard Lily say, I wish Uncle Julian was my daddy, and you just smiled and let it happen. In that moment, I was just tired. My heart was completely broken. I looked at her pale face and continued, 7 years of misunderstanding and pain can't be erased with a simple I'm sorry. I don't love you anymore. The only thing left between us is our shared responsibility for Lily. With that, I turned and walked away, never looking back. Behind me, I heard her heart-wrenching sobs. After that, Olivia didn't bother me again. She moved with ruthless efficiency, joining forces with Isabella's family to completely crush the companies belonging to Julian and his father, Richard. Julian was imprisoned on multiple charges, including commercial fraud and malicious entrapment. Carla was fired and faced legal action. Richard's hair turned white overnight as his company went bankrupt, leaving him to a bleak future. Olivia signed the divorce papers. She had amended the terms, transferring half of her personal assets to me as compensation. I only accepted what I was owed, using the rest to establish a foundation in her name to support gifted students from low-income backgrounds. She completely withdrew from my life, pouring all her energy into her company and raising Lily, becoming a truly powerful and solitary queen. 6 months later, Apex Dynamics successfully went public. The celebration was held at a hotel at the top of the city. I stood on the terrace, the evening breeze on my face, looking down at the city lights below, a sense of peace in my heart. Chloe walked over with 2 glasses of champagne, handed one to me and stood by my side. Ethan, she said, turning to me, her eyes shining brighter than the stars. You've finally stepped out of the shadows of your past. Are you ready to see the view in front of you now? I turned my head, met her hopeful gaze and smiled. It was the first genuine, light, and radiant smile I had smiled in 7 years. I put down my glass, took her hand, and gently pulled her into my arms. I've been looking the whole time. I leaned down and placed a gentle kiss on her forehead. Thank you, Chloe, for walking with me until the dawn. She laughed in my arms, a sound of relief and pure joy. Yes, the sun was rising. My world was finally greeting its own brilliant dawn.